All right, everybody, welcome. And we're looking for a roll call from Kathy.
You got it. Saban. Schreiber. Here. Bergbauer.
Here.
Galogli.
Here.
Deskin.
Here.
Lobes.
Here.
Bartleson.
Here.
Coretta.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, I see Lou is in the house tonight to open us in prayer. Lou's one of our police chaplains.
Would you pray with me, please? Almighty God in heaven, we thank you for your mercy and many blessings we have in our community and country. May your desires be our desires for our lives and for our city. Fill this room with your peace and harmony. May the riches of your grace be upon our city, elected officials, employees, volunteers, businesses, and families. Almighty God, we ask you to have mercy on those who are fighting cancer. May your healing hand rest upon them, cleansing and purifying and restoring them to wholeness and strength. Bless our mayor, our city council, and city staff with wisdom, knowledge to lead our city, with the ability to work in harmony and unity, full of joy in their service to our city, and bless their families with faith, hope, and love. Merciful God, we continue to keep our city and schools safe places. We ask for your protection for our police officers, our firefighters, emergency medical technicians, and military. Guide them in their decisions, give them discernment of imminent danger, enabling them to be protected and to protect. Give them strength and courage and bring them home safely as you keep watch over their families. For the military and first responder families that have lost loved ones, we ask for your abiding comfort and mercy to be with them. In your mighty name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Lou. All right. A lot of people in the house tonight, and for a good reason. So tonight we get to recognize some of the things that happen in our police department and what some of our officers have done. One thing I want to announce, though, even before we get to that, is this year the Rittenhouses were given the Golden Spirit Award by Representative John Connor. John asked me to nominate two seniors in the city that have just done, or just do uncompromising volunteer work, and of course nobody comes to mind other than the Rittenhouses. You guys are tireless, and things would not happen in this city without you two. I've never seen two volunteers work harder than you guys, so I'd just like to give a round of applause for the Rittenhouses. And so those are our volunteers, and then we also have our full-time officers who, as Lou was praying, just really put themselves out there every time they go out on duty, and sometimes they do extraordinary things, and that's what I want to talk about tonight. So, Terry, if you want to come up to the podium and...
Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council, before we give the awards out, I did want to acknowledge our Citizens Police Academy alumni that are all here today that help us greatly throughout the year. They've cleaned our garage. They work when we do Cop on Top. They're there. They do Shop with a Cop. They're going to decorate our squad cars for Halloween at the end of the month. They're invaluable. They're all here. If you just stand, all the Citizens Police Academy alumni, if you please stand. Our first two awards go to Officer Andy Ganger and Officer Kevin Brock. If you would mind coming up here, please. And I would like to acknowledge that our Police Commissioner Jack Miller is here. I see him in the back there. And if I could have Rich Haran come on up here as well, our Deputy Chief. First awards we're going to be giving is the Meritorious Conduct Award. And I'll read you what it says.
548, Shannon.
Right on cue, man.
On January 1st, 2019, officers Andy Ganger and Kevin Brock responded to the high-level bridge for a call involving a person who threatened to jump off the bridge. The suicidal person was the driver of a vehicle on the bridge, and the passenger in the vehicle had called police. Officer Ganger and Brock quickly responded to the top of the bridge where they found the vehicle in question stopped. Both officers parked their vehicles so that the suicidal subject's vehicle could not move. As they arrived, they saw the driver throw a cell phone out the window, and a struggle ensued between the driver and the passenger in the vehicle. Just as the officers approached the vehicle on foot, the driver broke away from the passenger who was trying to hold onto her and ran in an attempt to jump off the bridge. Officers Ganger and Brock caught her and escorted her to the ground before she neared the edge of the bridge. Escorted her to the ground means they tackled her. That's like legal term that Sonny would want us to use. As they immobilized her, she asked them to let her go so that she could kill herself. The suicidal subject was transported to the hospital by the Lockport Fire Protection District and received mental health treatment. The valiant efforts of Officer Ganger and Brock saved the life of a person who, after treatment, has a second chance at a fruitful life. Officers Andy Ganger and Kevin Brock, you are hereby awarded the Lockport Police Department Meritorious Conduct Award.
Yes. We'll get a good picture with you guys and the chief, so. Oh, you guys up here.
Rich, get in, come
Well,
on.
your award. And then let me give one to
Da-da-da.
Officer Brock. Here's your, you get your special.
Next, we have 3 letters of commendation. Andy Ganger, if you come back up here. Sergeant Brian Phelan, Officer Preston Fry, and Officer Ron Smiles. Come on up. On June 15, 2019, actually during the Canal Days Festival, each of these officers were called to a home where a person was threatening to commit suicide by hanging himself with an electrical cord. Upon arrival, they encountered a man that was highly agitated and had attempted suicide in the past, and he really meant business. The man was in a position where he could have jumped from a stairway and been successful at committing suicide. The officers worked as a coordinated team and engaged the man in conversation while displaying patience and remaining calm in a hectic situation that took over an hour to resolve. During the situation, Officer Fry placed himself in a position to cut the electrical cord as other officers created a diversion. After the diversion, Officer Ganger and Smiles rushed the man as Officer Fry cut the cord. The coordinated effort, supervised by Sergeant Phelan, resulted in the man receiving no injuries and prevented him from killing and harming himself. Sergeant Phelan, Officers Ganger, Fry, and Smiles, you are hereby commended for successfully resolving this serious situation. Congratulations. It's going to be a tough picture, so let's, my name is Preston, we're going to grab a picture.
All right, my friends, thank you. No offense if everybody gets up and leaves. We know how this goes. But thank you all for coming out and supporting our officers and your family members.
Wait 30 seconds.
Ben, you want to, did you mention the Carmel Apple situation?
Yes, I did mention to a few over here in the corner that the caramel apples were left over from Employee Appreciation Day today at City Hall. We had a nice, I don't know, we get about 65, 75 employees came out and had lunch and some good conversations. And the department heads and I all helped set up and serve and let the employees have a good day. And we certainly appreciate them as department heads. We can't do our jobs without them. So we saved 12 caramel apples for you all.
That's right.
Thank you.
That's so nobody would complain about the bills. Yeah. All right, you guys. Anybody got anything going on tonight with liaison stuff?
I have a liaison report, please.
All right.
Hoping the police were still here.
Oh, I'm sorry. You should have told me. I would have kept them in their seat for that.
Trying to flag it out.
My apologies.
So this past weekend was the Rotarians' second annual coffin race, and the police department came in first place. They were represented very well, and their person driving or in the coffin was Sonny. Second place
It's all about the driver.
his team with the bees, and third place was the Caldwell Banker Rolling Realtors. Gave them a good run for their money. It was a very well-attended event. I think each year it's going to gain a little momentum and a little more speed. This year there were a total of 8 coffins, whereas last year there was 4, I believe.
There was some amazing.
Yeah, the costumes and the coffins were awesome. They were really amazing. So Terry, you were represented well this week, and I know you weren't there, but you guys won again. But we're.
I didn't hear, I'm sorry.
Oh yeah. But you did have 6 wheels on your coffin. So, but yeah, it was a great event. Hopefully next year, if you didn't come this year, make sure you come next year. It's a lot of fun.
Very good. Thank you. And thanks to the Rotary for putting that on. That's a lot of fun. All right, what else?
I'll take the next one. So I just wanted to reiterate that we are now in full force on trying to find homes that have decorated for Halloween and for fall decor. So if you're getting ready or you're there, please send in your application. You can go on the website. We will have some kind of verbiage on our water bill, our next water bill, but we'd love to have you go online and sign up with your homes so that way we can recognize you at our, let's see, the deadline will be November 30th. And you will be recognized at the December 4th meeting. Letters will go out on November 20th, and if there's any others that come in after the 20th, we will call you, email you, or somehow we're going to contact you and let you know so you can come and be here for the meeting. And then, of course, the holiday decorations, the deadline for that one, it'll start in December and go through December 31st and be recognized at the January 15th meeting, a city meeting. So we hope that everyone will take the time to go online and sign up your home, because I know a lot of you take a lot of pride in decorating your homes for the special holidays, occasions. So, thank you.
I just want to add to that, Joanne. It's actually an easy process to go online. I always just Google City of Lockport Beautification Committee, and it comes right up, the link does. You click on that, and then there's a little button, Attach Pictures. I mean, it can't get any easier if you're doing it from your phone and you want to send the pictures there, or if you've got it on your thing, on your desktop.
you.
So I do know, I've told people to do it, I've told them where to go, they go, that was easy. So I go, I didn't know it was that easy, so I'm glad it's that easy, but in case anybody wants to do it, it's pretty easy to submit your home now. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, anybody else have anything? Okay. All right, well, let's just roll on then. CA1.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. The next item is the amendment to Chapter 110 of the Lockport Municipal Code pertaining to raffles. Ordinance 13030 authorizes the Section 110, Chapter 41 of our Muni Code, and it sets values for prizes and establishes the amount of time raffles are limited to. We're really just trying to clean up a little housekeeping between what our application says and what the ordinance says. We're kind of maintaining policy as how we've been interpreting this, but we're trying to finally update the code to match what we've been practicing. So we're still allowing, for example, the Queen of Hearts will be able to come into compliance with our ordinance. Technically, our current ordinance requires raffles to end in 120 days, and sometimes these prizes go on for almost a year. And our application and permit says that they can have a year, but we just needed to make sure our ordinance matches the paperwork that we've been following and practicing. So not a huge substance change, and we just wanted to get this ratified.
All right, anybody have any questions, concerns? Everybody feel comfortable?
I just have one question. Who patrols these licenses? I mean, raffles go on all the time. Is there someone who goes through and patrols them?
Not a raffle police per se. Tom Fulton, certainly in code enforcement. Most people that are putting on more formal raffles are organizations like the VFW, and they know to come to the city for these raffles. But we don't go out necessarily seeking them, but we do try to
'Cause
advertise
this
that they
was
need to come to us.
under 5,000, there's no fee. We just need to get a permit. Did I read that
Right.
right? So I mean, maybe they don't know they need permits, or are we getting a lot of permits for that?
Yeah.
I just think that's, I mean, it's just a formality. They come into where to, who do they sign up with, or how do they get signed
Clerk's
up?
office.
The clerk's office. So I think if we just let people know that, I mean, that's not, you know, we're pretty lenient, under 5,000, just come in and get a permit. So just wanted to make that point. Thank you.
All right, is everybody's okay with the language then? We good with the consent agenda for next meeting? Okay.
Thank you.
All right, Sonny, you up next?
Yes, thank you, Mayor and members of the City Council. Item 81 has to do with the ordinance increasing the fines for various parking and traffic violations. And before you, I presented a revised ordinance. It's in yellow, which is ordinance 19-039. The ordinance increases the fine for violations, like I said, for parking, traffic offenses, and parking fines will be go from $20 to $30, and that should be fire lane violation instead of fire land violation, from $25 to $35. Equipment violation, including the tinted window, will go from $35 to $50. Currently, the state statute requires some type of tint meter to, to find out whether or not the automobile is in violation. And I think fortunately for our police department, Will County State's Attorney Jim Glasgow has donated one of those devices that will read the tint, and therefore now we can enforce that violation. The overweight truck on non-truck route will go from $500 to $600, and other administratively adjudicated violation will go from $100 to $150. As indicated in the memo, the cover memo for this ordinance, these fines have been stagnant since 2004. And although the primary purpose of a fine should not be to generate a revenue, it should be noted that the cost of staff time and the cost of all the other related costs have gone up steadily throughout the years, while the fines have stayed the same. And of course, this fine increase has been recommended by Police Chief Lemming, and who has the experience and knowledge to know what the appropriate fine amount should be. And so staff will recommend the proposed ordinance 19-039 be placed on consent at the next City Council meeting and be approved. But I would be more than happy to answer any questions if there are.
I have two questions or comments, and I apologize if we didn't get a chance to talk earlier. The handicap amount is staying at $250. Do we feel if it goes to $500, it'd be a bigger deterrent? I mean, we haven't discussed that. I just brought that up now.
No,
but-
well, these are the fines that the chief has recommended. The state statute does allow the fine to go up to $350 for a handicap violation. For any violation in the state statute, if you fraudulently use a handicap decal and you're perfectly able to park there and you use someone else's handicap decal, you could be fined up to $500. But that's clear fraud
Okay.
to use that decal. But that was not a increase that the
Recommendation
chief
you were
has
making, so-
recommended.
One thing, one of the truck officers mentioned to me is that the tinted windows could go to 100, or how did we, on 50?
The issue with the tinted window is the state law requires us to have at least a $50 fine if we want to write an ordinance charge. So we had it at 35, and that was the impetus behind why we raised it. And what was your question, Ben?
Well, I'm just wondering if the tinted windows should be 100 instead of 50, again, it's the
Well,
deterrent.
the issue with that is, quite honestly, the officers, we have a no quota law in Illinois.
Sure.
So the legislature actually implemented a no quota law. So we can't make our officers write a ticket. So if we raise it to 100 and they don't feel that's right personally, they won't write that ticket. So I feel that at this level, they will.
Okay.
Anybody from the council, thoughts, concerns? Okay. Sounds like we'll take the chief's recommendations and put it on consent.
Yes, thank you.
All right. It's Lisa's annual time to shine.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and members of the City Council. We have, Ben and I have met with all the department heads, and we've met with all of the elected officials at this time to discuss the budget in detail, and now's our time to present this to the public. So today's a presentation of the budget, and then on November 6th, we'll have a public hearing for the budget. We'll also be presenting the 2019 tax levy, and then we'll be seeking approval of the budget and the tax levy at the December 4th meeting. Here's a summary by fund of revenue and expenses. We're looking at 44 million of revenue and 59 million of expense. That's 14 million of use of either the 2018 bond, excess reserves, transfers from other funds, but all funds are balanced on an operating basis. So we're just still continuing to spend down the excess reserves that we have. And you'll see there are a couple of them that we're actually budgeting for a surplus as well. Capital improvements. We've done a lot of work in capital improvements over the last few years, and we're going to continue to do that. Next year is going to be by far our largest year with an expectation of $20 million that is going to be spent. A little bit is going to be coming from the general fund. We have 5.7 million that's going to be the final spend down of the 2018 bond that we took out. And we'll have another about $4 million in a low-interest IEPA loan. Our capital projects are funded by our home rule sales tax, gas tax, electric, annexation road impact fees, telecom grants, and also the transfers from the general fund. Here's a summarized list of the projects that make up that $20 million. We've got a number of water main and street reconstruction projects, bike paths that we're going to be doing. Well 15, we actually dug the well this year. Next year is going to be the filtration plant put on. Resurfacing, parking, stormwater. We're going to continue on with a lot of those normal projects that we were doing. And then we're also going to continue to engineer some projects for the future years as well. Here's a map. I just wanted to show you guys a little bit about which streets are going to be covered. This is the 2nd through 5th Street. So you could see in green what's going to be done in 2020, and then in 2021 what is going to be done. So that's 2nd through 5th Street. And then that little piece down at the bottom is 8th Street. Here is 15th through 18th Street. So you could see in red what we did this year, in blue what we're going to be doing next year, and then 2024 is where you're going to see the yellow. So a large part of that area of the city will be under construction next year, but then that whole area should be in really good shape. Here's a list of the different equipment and building capital expenses that we're looking to purchase for next year. Some pickup trucks, backhoes, leaf machines, bobcats, squad cars, of course. Another gateway sign, as we've been trying to beautify our gateways here into the city, and then some building repairs. This is the general fund breakdown. You'll see 64% of our expenses in the general fund are for salaries and benefits, and then it really goes down there between, consultants and building expenses, computers and and things like that. And then also a breakdown for the general fund by department. The PD makes up 51% of the city's general fund, and Public Works is another 15%, engineering's 9%. We're also looking to hire 2 new employees next year. The street department's looking for a full-time laborer, and the sewer department would like to add another co-op high schooler to the city. So those are the highlights that I had, and I'm looking to see if there's any questions from council. If not, next council meeting, we'll do a public hearing for the public to be able to give us any input. The budget will be on the city's website along with this PowerPoint presentation for anybody that wants to take a look in more detail.
I want to thank all of you for spending all the time. We've done a lot of meetings in advance, 2 by 2 with each one of you and Lisa. And I want to also make sure I give Lisa a lot of credit. There's a lot of time that she's put into this behind the scenes, and she does a very good job and makes it look really easy, but it's not. And so I just want to appreciate Lisa's efforts on this.
Thank you.
All right. So, may have any questions? Otherwise, we'll do a public hearing next.
Hearing, yep, public hearing in November.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Make anything for new business? I do have a card for open comments, so Julianne Buckley, why don't you come on up? Julianne, if you could do us a favor and just tell us, where you're from, help us give an idea.
My name's Julianne Buckley, and I live at 508 East 18th Street here in Lockport, right across the street from the Park District's new building that went up. I have a problem. Let me just kind of read my statement to you and let you see what you think about this. I've lived at this house on 18th Street since 1993 when I purchased it. I purchased Lot 9. In 1996, my neighbor to the west of me claimed that he owned 18 by 160 feet of my property. After many trips to mapping and platting and many calls to Mr. Kneva, the Lockport lawyer at the time, I was told to get a lawyer to handle this problem. I hired Bob Crockey, who was from Joliet. He worked on this problem for 4 years along with my title insurance company to correct the problem, finishing in 2002. September of 2018, I received a certified letter from the Will County Circuit Court informing me that a portion of my land was being sold for back taxes. After many trips to mapping and platting, calls to the state's attorney, Mr. Mock, I was told to get a lawyer. I hired Andrew Coyle, who's right here in Lockport, and Dave Clausen, who is a surveyor, to try to correct this problem. Dave surveyed my property again, and Coyle drafted an affidavit stating that this parcel was not on my property. However, the parcel was on the survey map alongside of my property. When I asked my surveyor where the property was, I was told it is there, but you can't see it. September of 2019, I received a postcard from Will County informing me that this parcel was going up for auction September 11th. Lawyer assured me that all was good, parcel was not on my property. September 11th, my alderman, while at a city council meeting, saw this parcel, knew it was not right, and contacted me. We went down to mapping and platting to try to stop the auction of this parcel, as it was reflected on their map that the land was indeed on my lot. We talked to Mr. Mock, and he recommended I purchase the parcel just to keep someone else from buying it and extorting me to get it back. I purchased the parcel. I paid $800. The parcel is not there. It is written on the assessor's map, but there is no parcel in dirt. Since September 11th, I've talked to Map and Platting, Mr. Mock, Rhonda Novak, who's supervisor of assessments, and I've contacted Mr. Frickalone, who's with County Board, by email, and all I get is no return calls or told to go talk to someone else. All I am getting is a runaround. I've been told to get another lawyer. There is a big problem on the 500 block of 17th and 18th Street. I have pulled all the assessment records, and for the block, and there is 25.94 feet by 60 feet that is an error on my side of the block. There is also a home behind me on 17th Street that sits on a 60 by 160 lot, but she's recorded at 75 by 160. I have measured the entire block, 500 block of 17th and 18th Street. My husband actually bought me a wheel so I could walk around and measure it. I've gone by pins that were located by surveyors and by landmarks. This is an old neighborhood. Homes are 100 years old, sidewalks go to the edge of their property. I think the assessment on the easement on the west side of the block was recorded as property, causing the problem on 18th Street. The problem on 17th Street may be caused by the block being cut short on Lawrence by 33 feet. I need help. I do not want to hire another lawyer. I do not want to spend $100,000 fighting Will County. In the last year, I already spent $3,500 on this problem, and I still have it. This has been my problem for 25 years. However, this problem has been on the block since 1880, when the area was platted, where there have been quick claim deeds pushing this parcel to the east since the 70s. Most of the original owners that have had this problem have died, including my lawyer, Mr. Crockett. I believe the owner of my home knew of this problem on the block, but did not declare the issue to me when I purchased it. Mr. Mock told me September 11th that I probably will not be able to sell my home as it is right now. This is what I tried to avoid 25 years ago when I hired Mr. Crockett, got my title insurance company involved. Mr. Crockett spent 4 years correcting this, and all he did is push the property to the east onto two of my neighbors now, because we have a split property there. Now, one lost his home and the house was sold sheriff's sale. His surveyor recognized that the 25.94 was on his assessment record and made the parcel into a pin, pushed it to the west, and I have it again. The other part of the parcel is still on my neighbor's property, written in on her assessment record, and she has been paying taxes on this piece of parcel 60 by 25 since 2002.
All right, well, Julianne, clearly there's a problem, and
Oh, there's a big problem.
every detail at this point, it's not necessary for us. I understand there's a
I know
problem.
that.
I would like to help. I don't know exactly how. I think that, I'm happy to ask, maybe our city attorneys take a peek at it and maybe give some recommendations. I have no problem with that. I think we'd like to see it resolved for you. I can assure you that with all the details, I have no really idea what the exact problem is because there's a lot of information all at once.
There's several
But
theories.
I think that if we can help in some fashion, maybe give you the right direction or
What
guidance.
I'm looking for, because the direction I've gone, I'm just getting put into a circle.
Sure.
No one will return my call. There's a lot of animosity between me and the ladies down at Mapping and Plating.
Okay. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, we have met, with Alderman Deskin.
Okay.
And I feel for you. I totally understand. It is sort of beyond our purview. It's actually the way that the Will County accepts deeds, maps, and the description, and it could be incorrect description of legal descriptions. So it's, beyond what we do as a city. I suggested, getting a hold of someone at the Will County, either the Will County board member or president of the board, or going through a state rep to kind of get that push, because something needs to be done, but it's beyond what the city can do.
Right. I understand that. I'm trying to find a doorway to get in. Sure. I've tried many people already.
Well, I do appreciate Darren and Sunny already having help, or doing what they can, but
So just, yeah, and I've known Julie for, I don't know, 25 or more years. And and I share her frustration. Now, just to give the council, and it's not just her property. Okay, I had a parallel conversation almost at the same time with somebody else. He says, well, listen, my neighbor's trying to buy my backyard, buy my backyard, and I'm not gonna do it. So I went and did a GIS search, and by golly, the guy's pool, his neighbor, is on this guy's property, so no one wants to buy the job. So what the bottom, and I don't know what to do here, and I don't know, but to give people an idea is, this is Julie's property. She pays taxes on all this property. Her neighbor to the east pays taxes on this piece. This is the piece that was up for sale for non-payment of taxes.
But it doesn't
For
exist.
properties, okay? And then this piece of property is another neighbor's to the east. Julie pays taxes on this property, and so does her neighbor. I don't know how this gets resolved, okay? And it is true. I was down at the office with her and spoke with the staff there and spoke with Mr. Mock, and I share her frustration.
But I don't know if either of our real estate agents have any idea about how land.
Because it's
Briefly just talking with Catherine, and have you tried the township?
Yeah.
Tried the township, okay.
Township has helped me quite a bit. As a matter of fact, out of all the government offices I've gone to, the ladies in the township office are wonderful. They've supplied me with all the assessment records of all the homes on 17th and 18th Street, which I've tried to piece. I cannot read the deeds, those quitclaim deeds. I don't understand how to read them, but I've taught myself with their help how to read these assessment records, and it's just as good as a deed when you follow it. Now, the girl there is pulling all of the assessment records for 6 homes that are involved in this for the past 50 years. She's pulling me their assessment deeds going back to the building of the house, which goes back to 1923. And I'm determined once I get them, it's going to take her a while to go through the archives. I'm going to piece together where this started and why it started. But I don't know who to go to fix it. What this block needs is to be remeasured, not by the measurements that are recorded. Go blind and remeasure, and they will see there's 33 feet less than what is recorded on 17th Street and 26 feet less on 18th Street than is actually recorded. That amount by 160 is about $4,500 a year of taxes they're overcharging us. Yeah. Besides my problem.
It's too bad that it didn't get caught when you actually bought the property, okay?
I didn't know about it then.
You didn't, but actually the title search should have, showed up something.
And technically, the property, that parcel, was not on my property when I bought my house. When I bought my house in 93, in 96, when the neighbor to the west of me passed away, her son said to me one afternoon as I was watering my garden, "Nice deck you got on your house." Thank you. Too bad I'm gonna be sitting on it come the 4th of July because I'm claiming 18 feet.
Dan, did you have a recommendation where to go?
No, I don't have the, so the bottom line for the city is, Julie is the first of many people over the next decade or 2 decades. They're gonna be selling their properties, and as records have gotten better, what's gonna happen is, and it's not her property, it is multiple properties on the south end of town. The entire survey of the south end of town, it does not match up with the GIS, and it doesn't match up. And so she's the first of many that are gonna come here, and I know we can't resolve it tonight, we're not gonna resolve it anytime soon, but what's gonna happen is when we start seeing these, and probably none of us are gonna be here, in 10, 15 years, when there could be a bunch of people coming and say, the city needs to do something. She's the first of many, and I don't know where to go with it.
So the bottom line is,
Yeah.
Right.
That's when a new survey will probably be drawn up. There are
Have you had this same?
So I think you ought to start, you may have to now start going to some county board,
County board meeting itself,
board
just like you're
meetings,
doing
yes.
here.
and they haven't been able to help. Then, you know what, you may have to go to an elected official, your state representative, whoever you need to, let them know that you need help, and as their representatives, they need to help you. And maybe that might to generate some kind of movement on somebody's part in Will County, because it's obviously Will County that needs to do something, and nobody's doing it because it's probably a lot of work.
I mean, it's
And
a civil dispute between Will County and the homeowners.
And I hate to be a proponent of suing anybody because I defend the city, but there are mechanisms for court proceedings to do a writ of mandamus, other action to force a county body or government to do something that they're obligated to do under the statute or under the remedy that you would have available. And that would be for you to pursue a private attorney to do that. And I hate to advocate that because I never like to see a lawsuit, but if that comes to it, that would be the mechanism that you would have to deal with. And I spoke to you about that, and that's if you can't get what the people in the county level and the state level to listen to you and to do something, because I do agree, it is a problem. We did have, as part of those back tax delinquency auction sale, one of our properties that the city owns was actually, a portion of that was being sold off. We ended up getting a list of it, and we ended up paying for, well, actually, I called the county trustee to take it off the auction list. But it does happen, especially in the older neighborhood, and they incorrect description, incorrect GIS mapping, and that could happen to anyone, especially in the older communities. But that,
But ultimately, the county's responsible for drawing these lines.
Yeah, it's not us.
Yeah.
It's not us.
No, that's fine. I get it. But as like Darren mentioned, there's probably gonna be more of these, and so it's like, how do we engage the county to remap these things correctly?
Pressure on 'em.
Yeah.
It is the county, the way that if they do see an error, it is their duty to correct it. And we can't force them to do something that they should be doing.
Are there there's other communities that are just as old, if not older, and I'm sure they've come across this. Is there a way for her to research if somebody else has gone through this and been successful?
Unfortunately, it's not like something that you could Google easily. I mean, I'm sure it has, but most likely it's been resolved in a.
You tried the county executive's office either, and I think,
Yeah.
just to wrap this up, it's not city business. I think we need to move on, and we're empathetic.
That's where I'll go
If you could
next.
call me, I'd be happy to interject and get an audience with you and the county executive's office and whoever at the county wants to sit down or will give us some time. We can at least get an audience and find some direction and at least get the county engaged in some way. We can get the board member there, and that's probably about the limit of what we can do from a
Yeah,
city.
and I would have a hard time believing that you couldn't engage Walsh or Palmer on this in some fashion, so.
I know I have to do, I know county is who has to take care of this. It's just that I can't get them to open the door to talk to me.
Okay, so, but you know what, this is where, we can help with the
Thank you
right
very
connection,
much.
so. But definitely connect with Ben. Okay. All righty. Don't like when we can't solve a problem, but maybe we'll at least give her some direction there. Sorry, Julianne, about your issues. All right, you guys, so that's everything for Committee of the Whole. We have a motion to adjourn.
Wait, I just have a quick question for Brent. With the leaf pickup going on right now, is there any schedule for residents? Because I know a lot of people are saying they came through, we missed it. Is there a way I can bring branches to Public Works, or is there a way to know when the schedule is? So I've been asked that twice now by people in the old part of town that have bigger branches and bigger trees than me.
Sure. No schedule. I know that sounds kind of weird, but without knowing how many people will actually have leaves out or branches out, it's very difficult to know how far we're going to get each day. So we go from one end of the city, and then once we get done, we just simply start right back over. And we do that probably on an annual basis, probably 3 times, give or take. So it will be going on for, I would say, again, the next 2 to 3 weeks at least. So if you feel like you missed this, you may have missed the first go around, but we will be back through to continue, the leaf pickup for at least several more weeks.
So they should just put it out and
Yes.
then it'll get picked up?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, anything else there, friends? All right, then I'm looking for a motion to adjourn from committee of the whole. Joanne, seconded by Larry. All in favor? Aye. All right. You guys want to jump right in? We'll give Kathy just a minute. Okay. It's those stinking apples, right? Okay. All right, so we're looking for a motion tonight for our city council meeting to have a consent agenda.
Go to roll call.
Oh, man, sorry about that. I'm just getting right into it, man. Sorry.
You're on fire. All right, Saban.
Present.
Schreiber. Here. Bergbauer.
Here.
Glogly.
Here.
Deskin.
Here.
Lobes.
Here.
Bartleson.
Here.
Coretta.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right. So now looking for a motion to have a consent agenda. Renee,
Second.
seconded by JR. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. So consent tonight is committee of the whole meeting minutes from October 2nd, the regular city council meeting minutes from October 2nd, our payroll period ending October 6th. I have been asked to pull FN2 for now. We'll vote on that separately, so that's not on the consent. PW1 is the release of the letter of credit for Skyline Cabinets at Prime. And then there's the Illinois Channelization Phase 2 Design Engineering Services for Illinois State 7. So we're looking for a motion to approve said consent.
So move.
Joanne,
Second.
seconded by JR. May I have a roll call, please?
Yes. Saban. Yes. Schreiber.
Yes.
Bergbauer.
Yes.
Galogly.
Yes.
Deskin.
Yes.
Lobes.
Yes.
Bartleson.
Yes.
And Coretta.
Yes.
Motion passed.
All right, so separately, I'd like to have a motion to pass our bills through October 8th. Anybody want to pay the bills?
Oh, so
Yeah.
No, I don't want to pay the bills.
No motion, sorry, guys, no bills.
Nobody seconded, I'll second.
Second. Over here, Catherine did.
Okay.
As you were laughing.
And then, so looking for a roll call on that?
All right, Saban. Yes. Schreiber.
Yes.
Bergbauer.
Yes.
Galogly.
I abstain because the city is paying my employer.
Deskin.
Yes.
Lobes.
Yes.
Bartleson.
Yes.
Coretta.
Yes.
Motion passed.
All righty. So, CA1.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Well, we're here once again, the 2019 update to the 2003 Lockport Bicycle Pedestrian Master Plan. JSD Professional Services helped us and presented this to the mayor and members of the council at the committee of the whole on September 18th. We got a lot of good feedback at that meeting. We've got additional feedback with emails and phone calls with all of you and some of the residences. They were able to input that, and that's been received and implemented. I believe we've got full hard copy updates for you all to preview. And I know Lori's here, maybe have a few comments, but we're looking forward to formal approval and adoption, and we'll be utilizing this as funding becomes available with grants or cash in lieu of situations with developers, and trying to get developers to help connect these paths on their own with their own projects, and certainly with the CIP where appropriate. So with that, I'll turn it over to Lori.
All right. Is this on? Okay. So good to see everybody again. I will say it's kind of bittersweet because we've been spending since last September in Lockport, my team and I. We've been here quite a bit. So to have it come to an end is kind of, I don't know, it's kind of sad. But it's bittersweet, and we'll just keep working together to get these bike trails built. Okay, so for tonight, this is a short presentation. The biggest thing I want to do is highlight the changes that were made from the last hard copy you received to what's in front of you tonight. The graphic that you can see in front of you, comments that we received from council, from staff, as well as some additional maps to show what was coming. And then you can see, as we go through things, we highlight it to say we've addressed it, we reviewed it, and we've incorporated it into the document. So the biggest highlights from the revisions would be to the actual proposed bicycle trail network. And what you can see in front of you, all of the yellow highlighted paths or routes were either added or lengthened again, per comments received. So you can see all the yellow highlighted areas. In addition, we added a proposed access point, which is a new symbol on the bottom, green, and that is showing an entry to Messenger Woods from the north end of Messenger Woods, which would have to be coordinated, obviously, with the Forest Preserve District of Will County. But just looking how we could possibly get there, which would end up taking you even further south through the bike trail network. And then going back to the highlighted, some of the things I wanted to pull or bring to your attention, we did add a new bike lane type. We had discussed a shoulder bike lane in the past, at the last meeting. We didn't really see an area in town where that could work. However, after the comments came in and we looked a little deeper, we are now showing your buffered bicycle lane across 9th Street Bridge. When you get across the bridge, you could then incorporate the shoulder bicycle lane, which is the one more rural, off the side, to get you north to the south end of Lewis University's campus. You have a wide planting median there. It's a wider street. I mean, we do think it could be possible to get you across and up and over. The other highlighted areas are the majority of them are all shared use paths. And those are the ones that were the off-road preferred type by the residents. So the good thing is we think the majority of those can be off-road, and they can be offered via widened sidewalks or new paths through proposed subdivisions. That could be accomplished. And then the last connection I wanted to point out is, and this is between conversations with the mayor and staff, is looking at 135th Street Bridge. And what we wanted to do, this is a very challenging area, so the photo on the bottom left is the existing conditions right now. So if you're familiar with it, you get it to the end of the I&M and you don't know where to go. And we actually did it on the bike cart, our golf cart tour. One idea, we have a couple ideas, either to get you to Centennial Trail, which is on the west side, to go north, or to try and close the missing gap on the I&M along the Citgo west side of the property. There's a gap. One option is you could literally do an under the bridge, pedestrian only bridge. So you can see in the top left photo, that's what that is, how you would add a crossing under the existing bridge. One option. The other option is to find a way, when you get up and over by Citgo, there is a narrow piece of property that is Lockport owned, leased, however, to refinery, Citgo. I forget the exact owner, but it's a very narrow piece of property that you could sneak a trail through to connect from the I&M at 135th up going towards Lamont. It's a narrow piece, but it looks like it is something that could be accomplished with a coordination among the different cities. And the ultimate goal there is to eventually have, as we kind of were talking, is a Lamont, Lockport, Joliet trail system, which connects all three cities. And then some of the other images just showing, again, the shoulder bicycle lane as well as a buffered bicycle lane that would be across 9th Street. You would have to have a concrete wall in order to make that happen. And with that, those are the highlights of the changes that were made. You have a hard copy, everybody was given a hard copy. And if there's any questions, otherwise, I'm happy to.
I have a question. I mean, I think this is great, and I'll be, I fully support this. What I see here is in the areas that are not in the city of Lockport, okay, and knowing full well that other communities have probably done bike plans, okay, and so I have no idea if this can be given to these other communities. This is our plan to go ahead and there's no reason to go ahead and reinvent the wheel in Romanville, Lamont, Homer Glen, New Lenox, Joliet, and possibly Crest Hill. There's no reason for them to go ahead and say, okay, well, here's our bike plan, and then say, oh, wow, gee, and then all of a sudden they're not coordinated. So I don't know how we do that.
Well, I can help with that question. So one of the things that I had asked after last meeting, because I had been talking with Mayor Goffsky a little bit about trying to close that little bit of a gap between Lamont and Lockport, and if that was something that he and I could approach, either Citgo with, to fund, but it was a way of trying to make it easy to get back and forth between the two cities. Currently, if you want to stay on the Centennial Trail, you can go over the 135th Street Bridge, which is fine. It's got a nice lane that's blocked off, and then you ride on the west side of the canal. But then to get back over, you had to ride over the High Bridge in Lamont, which no sane family wants to do. So me and Agofsky were talking about maybe finding a way to help get Citgo to sponsor a connection to that little short thing. So I had asked, these guys to just throw it out there and show what's feasible, so that if we go to Citgo and, we'd have something that was, legitimized by a study. So that's really all that was about. I don't even know, actually, as we talked more about it, because as you and I were having that conversation, I was down there driving around trying to figure out how to even get across that strip of land. But then I had met with Mayor Goffsky about something else that day, and he talked about a big grant that they're trying to get right now, which is a strictly pedestrian bridge that goes over the sanitary shipping canal that would reconnect back to the Centennial Trail in Lamont, which would forego having to make this smaller connection. So they're applying for it now. So that's just a matter of us having dialogue with other cities.
Basically, so this is the local plan, and this should just be a puzzle piece to a regional plan, and there's no reason for somebody else within the region to pay for the portions that were within our local plan. And hopefully it would be work in concert with their local plan to come up with a regional plan.
So the one thing we recommend in here that I would highly recommend is attending the Will County bike meetings, because Will County is talking to all of you guys, individually. So I know Homer Glen, I think, attends or used to send somebody regularly when Mike Mertens was still there. I think Shorewood might, but there's definitely, and we attended, myself and my team, we attended one of these meetings and sat there, and you can hear what each community is planning, and they're talking across the table. So it's a really great way to know what that guy's doing, without setting just individual meetings, right? Just go to one of their monthly meetings, or it might be bi-monthly. Attend a Will County meeting and start there. I think that's a good place to start. There's also, CMAP is doing a regional, very large, larger than just Will County, that they're working on currently. So you're right. I mean, you have your plan. It'll help you get grant money by showing you have this. They like to see that, hey, we're planning, we're committed. So it'll help you get grant money, and then it'll help you provide these connections. Because exactly, some of these are going across township, but the goal is to ultimately be able to go outside of your property lines and keep biking.
Will County Forest Preserve was a good partner in this process, and it also kind of re-engaged us with them, and we're going to be bringing the Veterans Memorial Trail bike path that we budgeted for next year to help connect. So I think it's a great idea to re-engage and try to go to some of these meetings, and I think it's also a great idea to share with our peers what we're doing, and we can kind of co-collaborate. So we'll certainly work on that.
All right.
I still have a comment that Gauger Road between Division and Bruce does not have a connection. And so we're still landlocked, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 subdivisions that are on that road currently that would not be able to access it from there. So that's quite a bit of homes.
I'd have to pull that map again, but I know we did look at,
It's all county right-of-way over there, so potentially if we work with them, they might be able to propose something, but also that could be the middle route, and so how that gets designed and what plays out would probably play into this. That's when it would probably get occurred.
So, but this plan is for how long?
Well, it can be amended as much as you want, but
Until somebody else looks at it in 5
Yeah.
or 10 years.
And then, so, so those homes will be landlocked. I mean, it could change. I mean,
sure.
the property around that area now is listed, so it could quickly change to more homes there if they go that route. But I'm just saying we're forgetting a big portion that is landlocked that cannot get out. And there's a lot of people that ride bikes there right now. And so I kind of feel that you're missing, I mean, there could be accidents there. I'm just I know there's people that ride bikes there, so I don't recommend it, but there's not a safe passageway, and there are people that ride bikes there. I see it more than I want to admit to. So there's a lot of people that sometimes they walk that way and sometimes they ride bikes. And so if we have now paths on both sides of that, they're going to be riding more to get to those paths. So I'm just letting you know. That concerns me as a person that sees this map coming into place.
Sure, thank you.
Fair enough. All right, anything else? We can do a, looking for a motion to approve. I guess we should have done that earlier.
I'll make that motion.
Darren, any seconds? Seconded by Mark. Why don't we do a roll call?
Saban.
Yes.
Schreiber.
Yes.
Bergbauer.
Yes.
Delogley.
Yes.
Deskin.
Yes.
Lobes.
Yes.
Bartleson.
Yes.
Beretta.
No?
Motion passed.
All righty. So, Sonny, what do you got for our temporary food truck pilot program?
Thank you. I could click that. As we discussed at the last Committee of the Whole meeting regarding Resolution 19-116 on suspending the requirement that food truck have a brick-and-mortar restaurant in order to operate, we did talk with Mr. Floridian Porsche and presented the resolution. He had some concerns on the no rust requirement. He does have some rusting on his food truck. And so in order to kind of make sure that we have the higher end food truck where there's no rust, and there may be some rust on some vehicles, the resolution is presented, would relax the no rust rule and allow some type of rust spots. It can't be greater than the size of a US dollar coin on the body of the vehicle. And as presented last time, there should be no cracked windows or windshield. The other thing that was voiced at the last city council meeting was, I believe, Mayor, you brought this up regarding having the food truck operators have garbage cans. So this this resolution was added to add a provision to require that the food truck have to have some type of garbage cans that have to be provided. It can't be a city-owned receptacle can. They also have to clean up within 25-foot radius of the food truck. And as with any other ordinances, we mirrored this from Romeoville. I mean, it's always good to look at other communities and what they do. And so the resolution 19-116 kind of addresses some of the concerns, and it's a pilot program again. And at end of April 2020, the city council could determine whether or not to permanently allow the food truck operation or end that as a pilot program. So if there are any questions, I would be more than happy to entertain them. And I, again, would thank Alderwoman Bergbauer for her input and her time and consideration on getting the input from the surrounding businesses that will be impacted by this ordinance or the resolution.
Excuse me, Sonny, can you just explain again, please?
Hold on, don't we have to make a motion to approve? Don't
Oh,
we?
yeah, sorry. Looking for a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve.
Okay.
I second.
Okay.
Now we can.
So please, thank you.
So my question is, where is this being approved at? Is there going to be a spot that these trucks will be able to go and serve food?
Yeah, and that was left a little bit more flexible, so it would have to be a city-approved location. We discussed earlier that it could be a church parking lot if the church, gave the authority for the food truck to locate there. It could be a city-owned parking lot. It could be some other location. It could be, oftentimes the city has, public events. It could be at, this will kind of end before the
Permitted on a case-by-case basis so we can
yeah,
control it.
exactly.
So if
So-
20
They have-
trucks show up, they have to
let-
come to us, yeah.
Okay, so they have to let you know where they're going to be located at. Can it actually be located in, like, say, for example, the parking lot where the automotive Napa, I think that's the name of it, that strip mall where
Are you
these
talking about Lockport
kids-
Plaza? Lockport Plaza?
Talking about Hanson Center, where the Napa building is?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a private property. If they got permission from the owners and brought a permit to us and we approved it, then I guess it could be there, sure.
It could be there.
So wherever they can get permission by the owners of the
Or
property.
from us with our own
Yeah,
property.
and the city would have to approve the location. I think the idea was that we don't want the food truck next to a business that closed down that will kind of obviously, kind of highlight a business being closed down and having a food truck there. So we kind of wanted to end that type of dichotomy of the food truck and a closed down
some
business.
discretion.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, that's exciting. You guys want to do a roll call? Or you got anything else? We ready?
All right then. Saban.
Yes.
Schreiber.
Yes.
Bergbauer.
Yes.
Balogly.
Yes.
Eskin.
Yes.
Lobes.
Yes.
Bartleson.
Yes.
Coretta.
Yes.
Motion passed.
All right. AT2,
Yes.
or adult cannabis businesses.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the City Council. This is the topic du jour. The item AT-2 deals with the ordinance, the opt-out ordinance, as part of what was presented at the October 2nd Committee of the Whole meeting. The report was presented at that time on the Cannabis Regulation and Tax Act. So the mayor and the members of the City Council debated and discussed whether to allow the adult-use cannabis business establishments or to opt out by prohibiting the adult-use cannabis business establishments. And the option that would not be recommended would be to take no action, because then if you take no action, that would allow similar businesses of any of the cannabis-related businesses to operate without any restrictions or protection. The ordinance that's being presented to you is 19-041. It is modeled and templated from the IML recommended opt-out ordinance, and that was what was used. The ordinance creates a new chapter titled Adult Use Cannabis Business Establishments Prohibited. That would prohibit all adult use cannabis related businesses, establishments including craft grower, cultivation center, dispensary, infuser, processor, and transporter as defined under the Cannabis Act. So essentially, the only provision that was included that was not in the model IML ordinance is the provision that specifically restricts the on-site consumption of cannabis. The act does restrict the use of cannabis, lawful cannabis, to be consumed in residential places, and that would include your home. If you lived in an apartment complex or condo place, the actual owner of the establishment or of the property or the condo association could prohibit the consumption or use of the cannabis. So the ideal was that if a local community wanted on-site consumption, they could do that by ordinance. But there's been different interpretation. There's been misinformation regarding whether or not businesses could allow on-site consumption. So that provision was added to specifically state that regardless of whether or not you could smoke at a hookah place or a tobacco store, you can't consume or use cannabis at those businesses. It's nothing that is outside of what is prohibited by the Cannabis Act, and that was the only provision that was added in that ordinance that, from the model ordinance that the IML has presented. So if there are any questions, I would be more than happy to answer them if I can.
All right, well, why don't we do a motion to approve so we can discuss? So looking for a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Catherine?
Second.
Seconded by Mark. All right, thoughts, concerns here?
Yeah, I actually wrote something up that I'd like to read, and if you guys want to zone out, go ahead, but it's important to me. First of all, thank you, everyone who has called, emailed, or I've talked to in person. I know other people on the board said they have no emails. I've gotten quite a few. I'm not exactly sure why I did and other people didn't. I'd also like to thank the board for doing their due diligence to this subject, because there was a lot there. I appreciate your time and fair assessment. I've researched beyond what was given to me by the city and spent time looking at the websites from the CDC, Mayo Clinic, IDPH. I looked at statistics on marijuana use, population statistics in regards to Colorado's growth, et cetera, and came up with positives and negatives for having a dispensary in Lockport. I do wish I had a little bit more time and I was informed about the transporters, infusers, and other businesses being on this ordinance. I feel that I would have liked more time to research these and other types of businesses that are benefiting from the sale of marijuana. For example, can a business sell CBD, which is a non-intoxicating cannabinoid found in cannabis, which has various degrees of THC in the drug? The Wall Street Journal said CBD products appearing on store shelves often carry no age restrictions. So basically, you can go to a gas station in Homer Glen and buy CBD. What's going on with that? I don't understand. Getting to the business side of this is is my corner. That's what I understand the most. A dispensary or a grower makes perfect financial sense. 3% of the sales that are not yet earmarked will go back to the community, having it next to Chevron in a non-populous area of town, and land use that is pretty difficult to put anything else on. It seems like a good venture. It would be an excellent source of income not coming off the backs of the citizens of Lockport, especially because the licenses are limited, thereby controlling the market. Beyond the discussed dispensary, which may only employ 6 people, the cultivators, transporters, and infusers would be larger employees, which would be nice to see more job growth in the city and tax benefits as well. Yet, on a more personal side, I like marijuana being legal in the state of Illinois. I do. However, I do not know what that would look like for this town. I'm not sure what it would look like to have a dispensary or a grower in this town. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing because of all the information I've been given, and I have no personal reference. I've never gone out to Colorado. I don't know. It's hard to discern fact from exaggeration or hyperbole. I can't get a grasp on how that would look like for the citizens of Lockport. That's why at this time, I would like to say no to having a dispensary in town. And I will at this time agree to not having the other cannabis-related businesses in town, as I would speculate my colleagues have had time to research the other businesses. Furthermore, I would like to ask that we set up some type of educational program because there's so much confusion and fear. To my point, I talked to a gentleman that was very scared that his teenagers would be smoking marijuana and it would lead to further drug problems. I feel for the guy, and I'm very sorry for him. I really am. From my personal experience, I have teenagers of my own, and I have employed teenagers for 25 years. They still come in at 16 years old and they leave in their mid-20s. I have that all the time. 3 things that help a young adult navigate successfully through tough times are family, education, and religion. I would like to suggest that we work with the police department, the high schools, and our local government to set up an outreach program to address the education part of it for adults and children alike, especially this man who was completely frightened. Like it or not, marijuana is coming to our town, whether we have a dispensary or not. We can purchase it legally elsewhere. We cannot provide the family core or the religion, but we can certainly provide the education.
All right, well, thanks for your thoughts on that, Christina. I appreciate the time you took on it.
So I have a couple of comments. What disappoints me more than anything else is for the second time in 2 months, we have been presented something that we never discussed. Tonight, 2 weeks ago when we had this, the entire discussion was predicated on the fact that we, as a city council, had to make a decision on dispensaries by January 1. The entire memo that we received, except for 2 words, in a one-page memo was about medical dispensaries and recreational dispensaries. We spent a considerable amount of time discussing one subject, and that was a recreational dispensary. I gave a couple of options that were rejected by the council, which is fine, but the discussion was for recreational dispensaries. So when I came home from a short vacation on Monday, and 10:30 at night, when I'm reading what is before us today, and I see for the second time in 2 months, language that we did not discuss. And what we discussed was a dispensary. We were going to make a decision on a dispensary tonight. Not use, and it's not the subject matter. It is the procedure where things changed from 2 weeks ago to today. I'd just like to know how that has happened twice in the last 2 months, where we are now facing a decision that we did not discuss. I would much rather we go ahead and pull everything from this ordinance, except for the dispensary. We vote on that, because that's what we discussed. And it's not whether we are for or against the other things within this, it's just the procedure. So, that's what I recommend we do.
That's fine. Let me try to address it.
Could I have a comment to Darren's comment here? Darren, I kind of disagree with what you just said, in the sense that AT-2 of 2 weeks ago of Committee of the Whole, it did say that the new law presents multiple of issues for local governments, but the immediate decision of the city needs to be made whether to opt out of recreational cannabis-related businesses in Lockport. The word businesses is, for me, when I interpreted that, was everything related to the cannabis, and that would be growing it, that would be selling it, that would be medical, just that word, because we're not going to write down, it was a 600-plus massive page legislation. So just by documenting that, it was an all-inclusive thing to me. That's how I interpreted it. So when I read that, it was everything, and I was happy we didn't get 600 pages attached to our agenda in our packet. So it's kind of all-inclusive is how I read it. So I just want to let you know, sitting up here, I read it differently than you did.
I didn't read it that way. That's why I'm hoping that everybody else did their homework and studied transporters, infusers, all this other stuff. Because I'm in the same boat that Darren is, and I apologize, I didn't see the word businesses. I focused totally on dispensaries. I focused on it. And this other thing, I mean, I'm sure you guys, you guys have done your diligence, I'm sure. But I do understand Darren's point.
Well, it's fine. It's a point that's what we talked about almost exclusively was the dispensaries. But it didn't mean that anybody who wanted to talk about anything else couldn't. That was what the memo was about. It was about cannabis-related businesses. I think it was pretty clear that most everybody wanted to opt out, so it is what it is. There wasn't the people that had a propensity to move forward with it, such as you, Darren. You're the one who had the conversation. You wanted to talk about it, which was absolutely fine. You focused on those things. You could have brought up any of those other businesses at that time, because that was what was on the agenda.
Well, then apparently I must have attended a different meeting.
Darren, the memo is clear. The memo is not.
Clear.
It is clear. It says Lockport, or it says.
It was 2 words. There was 2 words out of 700 words.
Yeah, and they're pretty key. It's like we're opting out of recreational cannabis-related businesses. So I think your way of trying to
I'm just making a point.
define it, I think is.
I'm just making a point that from now on, when we discuss something in 2 weeks, we're going to be voting on it, we better have something that we actually discussed.
There's a difference between discussing and what's allowed to be discussed. If we're going to talk about, if Brent comes in here and talks about a new water main going down a long road, and we talk about the water main, we talk about the cost of pipe, we talk about construction, how many bids we got, but we didn't discuss one of the easements that it has to go through, even though it's part of the bill. Just because we didn't discuss it doesn't mean we can't vote on it. It was part of it. If anybody wanted to talk about, say, the easement issue, They could have. That happens with everything we deal with. This fact that nobody wanted to bring up or talk about the transporter or the grow facilities at the time was fine. Everybody already seemed to have a propensity to opt out. And again, this goes back to, we'd all been talking about this for quite a long time. Almost all of us were at the IML conference where we went there to get more information about this. We attended the seminars. It's not like this was new dialogue for us. So any of us could have brought it up, but by the time we got to the meeting last week, it's like we pretty much, had an idea where we were going, which is fine. You could have brought up any of those things because that's what was on the agenda, Darren. You could have done it at the time. So I disagree with your definition that, this wasn't put on the agenda for a topic to discuss.
I do agree, though, with Christine, that we do need to get the education out there through the schools and through the police department. Somehow, we have to get the word out so people are familiar with what is actually happening. And I feel bad about parents that do have teenagers, because they will be the ones impacted, especially now that people are able to grow it in their own homes up to a certain amount. That is scary.
Well, the good news is, with Rich Witowski, he was the officer that we hired, who was primarily focused on, how phones and, all the awful stuff that comes with this stuff for young kids. He also is very much about education for drugs and these kinds of things. So I'm sure we could tap into Rich for those kinds of things as we move forward with this.
Very well needed, yeah.
All right. Does anybody else have anything they want to say? Do you guys feel comfortable
What
moving?
about our community as a whole? Can we set up can Amanda set up some kind of thing that they can read on maybe our page?
Yeah, I'm positive Rich Witowski has a whole bunch of stuff that we could access. So, Chief, if you can reach out to him this week and see.
Sure. I'm on the Will County Drug Coalition now. I'm actually chairman of the marijuana committee, and we have we actually have a grant to go into the grade schools and talk about the legalization of marijuana. So because we do expect that use among adolescents will go up.
I think one other thing, point of clarity that I think when I had a couple emails, some of the emails were related to medicinal marijuana, and that, people that they know suffer and they have ailments and that the marijuana helps them, which the thing is, we've allowed medicinal marijuana opportunities in the city of Lockport for at least the last 5 years. We did already zone that. But just in the same way, we may say, hey, Olive Garden's welcome, doesn't mean they're coming, right? So we did have the opportunity. It's just that the dispensaries chose not to open one in the city of Lockport. Just like any other business, they look at population numbers. So that is not something that we have restricted. That has been open for medicinal purposes since then. So it was a point that a lot of people did not know when I've had conversations with them. All right. Well, shall we do a roll call?
Absolutely. Saban. Yes. Schreiber.
The vote.
Yeah.
Wait, did we motion?
Sorry, it's a motion to approve the
Okay, that's what we
ordinance
did, sorry.
amending the City of Lockport Code of Ordinances.
We're saying yes to opting out.
Yes to opting out, correct.
Okay, thank you.
Saban, yes? Okay. Schreiber?
Yes.
Bergbauer?
Yes.
Galogly?
Yes.
Deskin?
No.
Lobes?
Yes.
Bartleson?
Yes.
Coretta?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay. All right, anything else we have here for open comments? All good? All right, my friends, looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Got Larry and Joanne. All in favor?
Aye.